I am fascinated by the attack on Alexander Usyk from Don Charles, the coach of Daniel Dubois. It's been very personal. He's called into question how religious he really is. He's, if you're a God-fearing man, all of this sort of stuff.
There's a problem, though, that they're making. There's one little miscalculation. He was doing a speech and he's going to talk about his dad. And as soon as Dubois jumped in the ring, he turns to Turkey and says, set this fight up right now. Because he doesn't do the disrespect.
Ale Oladipo was going, Daniel, because he knew exactly what you're saying there, KG.
He turns and he goes,
tried to save
set
him.
it up right now. He tried to save him because Usyk is going to remember these moments. If you know those people over there are being disrespectful, you're going to train a little bit harder. You're going to go to the well even more than before.
Welcome back to the Pain Game YouTube channel. Me and the lads are back to break it down. It's Usyk versus Dubois at Wembley. Another great night with me and the boys. Can't wait. And also don't forget, if you want to watch the pay-per-view live on DAZN, I'll leave the link in the description below. Lads, first of all, just how does it feel to be going back to Wembley and have another big night for us?
Madness.
Absolutely.
Last time we was there, guys, the highlights will never be forgotten. Dubois, he made mugs of me and Trav, definitely.
Wasn't that one of those nights that I genuinely, of all the nights we've ever had, and we've had some fucking good ones, that's the one that stands out above all. And that's where we kind of have to give Dubois credit. I went back and watched our last breakdown before the AJ fight because I was thinking of questions for this. And I was really happy with everything we said. We really covered it all. Like, it was as if, a lot of the working out, we'd watched the fight beforehand, but he still shocked us in how brutal and how quick he did it. And I think he's made a lot of fans for himself, but so is Usyk, right? Usyk, even though he's the Ukrainian, he's the king of England, essentially. He's beaten everyone we've got, even Dubois early on in his career. First question about the fight is, who do you actually want to win? Because obviously there's a legacy of Usyk, the patriotism of Dubois. What are you feeling?
I think barring Americans, in terms of American fighters, I can't really remember the British public warming to a foreign fighter like they have for Alexander Usyk for such a long time. And I think that is, it's almost like it's romanticized in a way. It's nice in a way. The fact that with football fans and stuff, like you beat their team and they hate you and whatever. With boxing, we do give people their props. So like, you come over here, if you beat our guy and we think our guy is the bollocks and you beat him, we'll give you your props. And Usyk has forged his latter career definitely as, he was the road warrior, right? When he was a cruiserweight, he was the road warrior. Like, if you actually look at his accolades and the locations of where he's won the world titles, 90% of those world titles, like, none of them have been won in the Ukraine, and 90% of them have been won in hostile territory. So I'm not on about, let's say, for example, Poland, where he can draw what is classed as like almost like a home crowd against Daniel Dubois. 90% of the time, he's going into that guy's backyard. Tony Bellew, or whether it be coming over here and fighting Anthony Joshua at Spurs, whether it be now Daniel Dubois. And because of that, I think we've gained a massive amount of respect for him. So as easy as it is to always back the Brit, I think that this is a unique circumstance where it will be a little bit more level, even amongst Brits themselves, in terms of who they want to win.
Also, the Usyk thing, he's beaten more Mike characters. Like, as much as AJ has a lot of people who love him, as does Tyson Fury, they also have a lot of haters. And I think those haters were happy to see either guy lose. Tony Bellew's a very more Mike character. Loza, who are you wanting to win?
Great point there you made about the Marmite characters, because I think you're so right. But I just think he's so relatable, because a lot of the Eastern European fighters that we've seen, they haven't got the personality that Usyk's got. And he's always laughing, joking. He's just, I don't know what it is, but he seems so relatable to us British fans especially. But
he's humble, isn't he?
He's so humble. I do personally want Daniel Dubois to win, but there's a part of us, because I love Usyk so much, it's going to be one of them bitter pills to swallow, whoever loses, for me personally.
KJ, you want Dubois to win, don't you? I seen Monday Night Smoke.
Absolutely, guys. We need boxing to move on. I love a bit of chaos. I'm here for it as well. Again, it's Dubois. You want to step into Dubois era of boxing. And yes, Usyk has been beautiful. It's been brilliant. But let's have it right, guys. This week, this fight, where we should be in terms of undisputed, it doesn't. I feel like a bit of the ingredient is missing. Are you with me in terms of hype for the casuals? I don't know what's going on. The boxing territory, know about what's happening. But I feel like for some strange reason, it hasn't seeped into normal casual conversation.
That's Dubois, personally, I think Dubois is so focused and locked in that he doesn't give two shits about promoting this fight. We've seen Usyk have this impact on fighters before. We've seen Tyson Fury go silent before fights. AJ's done it a lot more in his rematch. I think it's now or never. And you make a really good point about moving forward, because for me, I want Alexander Usyk to win. I'm not going to lie. I connected with him when he cried about his dad dying and not being there. That was like, because I've lost a parent, and especially after he'd achieved greatness and beaten Fury and becoming undisputed the first time at heavyweight. He is relatable. He does let himself be vulnerable, because he can be, because he's not bulling himself up to be something else. Do you know what I mean? And the idea of witnessing greatness for me, yes, we all remember Lennox Lewis, but we weren't like adults then. This is our era, and this is our guy who, when we're old and we're talking to, our little boys or whatever, you know what I mean? We'll be like,
I was there. I did that fight.
Do you know what I mean?
I was there.
And we'll be telling stories about how we were there for the great Alexander Usyk, because, as much as we can go back and watch Ollie, we didn't live it. We're living this now. And I would like to be able to say, I lived through one of the greatest of all time. And I feel like that is what we're witnessing now. But the problem is, the point you made, KJ, of for the future of boxing, it would be good for a passing of the torch moment for Dubois to take that from him.
Yes.
You could argue because Usyk isn't going to keep fighting for that much longer, and Dubois clearly is. So if we've got a man who takes that from him, and then he takes on all comers, and then you've got the Moses Atomas coming up to try and challenge him, I think it makes it more interesting. Whereas Usyk, for me, if he wins, as a fan of him, I want him to retire immediately, because I want that perfection encased in stone. And just to move on to the age issue, 38 versus 27. How much of that is a factor in your opinion here, lad?
I personally,
I'm going to say, guys, I think there is a factor. I think there is a factor here, because, again, you can deal with a Tyson Fury that doesn't take his training as serious as he needs to be in the off season. I'm talking about drinking and all that stuff.
Yeah.
He has a lot more to do for his body to just stay. He's fought Tyson Fury twice, and it took a lot out of him, I would say, for Usyk. Now you're fighting someone with a good gas tank. We've seen him training. We've seen Dubois before a fight, still on the treadmill, going crazy. We know that he's going to be there. I don't know if he'll be able to outwork him. He's just going to have to outbox him, but you're not going to that work rate that Dubois is going to put in will be there.
He's the fittest big man, isn't he? He's the fittest big man we've seen in a long, long time, in my opinion. Like, the way he can keep
Fury's
up I don't think AJ was as fit as Dubois is in terms of what I'm seeing right now. I think AJ always fought in spurts. He had a few rounds, whereas Dubois just keeps fucking throwing all night. He keeps coming.
The real question would be to see what happens, whether he can disrupt that rhythm when it is disrupted, whether he can pull it back, whether he can show that level of fitness again. Because when you say about it, comments are going to absolutely kill me here. My first thing, when you talk about the fittest big man in the heavyweight division, I would personally say, other than Alexander Usyk, I'd say it's Tyson Fury, because of the ability to gain that second wind, and because of the ability to be able to look like he's done, and then to be able to come back from it. But from the offset, Daniel Dubois 100%. Go on.
I think Fury is smarter than Dubois in that he paces a fight really well to his benefit. And I think he manages to steal breathers so cleverly throughout a fight. Dubois doesn't do that. And the intensity that Dubois can fight at, I think Dubois can fight at a more intense pace for longer than Fury can. kind of why Fury, I think, made it to the end every time with Usyk, because he's just clever. I don't think we're going to get that from Dubois. I think it's
the cleverness comes into fitness. The cleverness, that being clever, that being clever, being crafty comes into fitness, because at the end of the day, we're talking about things that he can do within a boxing ring that enhances his ability to stay fresher and fitter at the end of a fight. So if we were getting them to go and do a 100-meter or 500-meter run or whatever, that would be relevant. In a boxing ring, the fitness, the ability to be able to pace yourself within a fight does actually come into it. And when you look at the first fight, everyone says, oh, Daniel Dubois got stopped off a jab. Daniel Dubois got stopped off a jab. The jab was irrelevant. It could have been a jab. It could have been a backhand. It could have been a hook. Daniel Dubois got stopped from exhaustion, in my opinion, right? So when we're talking about fitness and we're looking back to the first fight, exhaustion was Daniel Dubois' enemy in that first fight. And that's why I think that we have now seen a real conscious effort, and actually we're seeing the fruits of the labour in terms of Daniel Dubois working on that fitness. I said it last night in a video that while I was previewing the fight. Me and I think it was Loza that I was with on the day, we walked up to the gym and you can just hear ba-ba-bum, ba-bum, ba-bum, ba-bum. And we're thinking like, what's going on up here? They're renovating it or saying whatever. Looked over, it's the Thursday. Dubois is caning the running machine. Absolutely smashing that running machine. By the way, to give it context, right, he's had 2 fights in the interim since Alexander Usyk. I think it was it Trevor Bryant and Kevin Lerena, and I believe they were since Alexander Usyk, but he hadn't really proved himself. They may have even been before, but anyway, the point I'm trying to make is my initial thought when I saw Dubois on that running machine was nervous. I thought, you're nervous. You're overcooking. You don't need to be doing this on a Thursday. You're fighting on Saturday. How wrong was I? Because he went in there and he set a pace.
I spoke to him about this and he went, I know how to get the best out of my body.
Yeah.
And there's a method to the madness. And to your point about Fury, as much as there's a smartness about pacing a fight, I think actually that's where there's an advantage with Dubois that Fury didn't have, in that Dubois is a sprinter, literally. You've just described what you're seeing. And that is the only way, in my opinion, to ever beat an Alexander Usyk. It's not pacing yourself with him and going punch for punch and trying to outbox him and win a decision. I think that's a waste of time. So I do think athletically, Dubois is the type of fighter who, if anyone can beat an Usyk, he is athletically, whether or not he is upstairs or not is another thing. He is that type of fighter. I just want to talk about the first fight because you brought it up. Loza, the first fight, how much of that will impact this fight, in your opinion?
I think massively. I don't want to go backwards on what we've just said, but I think we all think Daniel Dubois is way fitter than he is, because if you look at the first fight, if you look at the pace of the fight, Daniel's looked great against Hrgovic, in my opinion, who's lazy. You know, Jarrell Miller. Yes, he keeps coming forward, but he's a plodder. I think we all think he's fitter than he actually is. That's my personal opinion. And I think Alexander Usyk, the pace he sets with his speed and his sharpness and his timing, that's what tired Daniel Dubois. And I think his rate of jab, his southpaw jab, you know, you can't, you know, when you've been stopped off a jab, that doesn't just leave your head. I know he's 2 years on and we'll all talk about the massive, you know, experience he's gained, the confidence he's gained, but the people that he's had in front of him, in my opinion, they haven't been great in terms of their performances. Hrgovic, there was something not right with him. I think he had issues in the camp. Jarrell Miller, who's he fought? Then Anthony Joshua, he left his body and his brain in the dressing room.
That's not fair.
This is what I think. I just think these performances. I hate when we do that in
boxing.
So
What we're not going to do.
Just quickly.
We're not doing that.
To put things into perspective, Joseph Parker's runner form. Deontay Wilder shot to pieces. Zhilei Zhang gasses out in the middle rounds. We can do that with everyone.
This is what we do in boxing. We do this in boxing. As soon as someone shows a bit about themselves, we said that he has to learn certain lessons. Big Baby Miller was the mental test that he's suffered from. Remember what he's talking about is Black Lives Matter Dubois. They're not talking about him taking knees for no reason. Mm-hmm. That was what we used to call him before, the quitter. Yeah, the eye doesn't want to carry on. This is triple knee. I remember them names. Now, he went through that one and this man pushed him mentally. And we all know in boxing, I think that's where your energy gets sapped up. because you're not landing and things are not going your way. You're feeling tired in there. He said he gave up. After the low blow didn't go his way, he became discouraged. Yeah. He said that on national radio.
Do you think that's true, lads? Because I do want to reflect on this first fight between them. Is that true in your opinion? And now, a word from our sponsors. Want to win this Audi RS6 today? Well, you're in luck, because with our new channel partners, ush.co.uk, you can. All you've got to do is click the link below and grab your free ticket to enter at ush.co.uk. And if you're not into cars and you win, you can get 50 grand in cash. And I said to the guys at Ush, let me take this for a test drive before we give it a 1 mile up, because I just need to check it's all right. Do you know what I mean? Just let me check. It's a bit better than all right, right? It's absolutely unbelievable. It flies, this car, honestly. So fast, so fun. It's one of the most fun drives you could ever have in your life. We're talking a 4-litre twin turbo, 22-inch alloys, an RS body kit, full leather interior. This car is a dream. And don't forget, if you're not a car person and you win, you will be able to get the 50 grand in cash. So enter now at ush.co.uk. The link is below and you can be in the draw in less than 30 seconds after clicking that link. Remember, it's free to enter. You've got to be over 18 and you've got to be a UK resident, and there's no purchase necessary. All you have to do is click the link to grab your free ticket at ush.co.uk. It's that simple.
100%, million percent. A bit very obviously a million times smaller scale, but I've been in a situation before where refs should have waved fights off. Refs have given way too long accounts and stuff like that. I'm talking about things where I feel I've been injustice. I'm not saying that Daniel Dubois was, robbed. I'm not saying, I'm not debating the low blow. We'll get onto that in a minute. But what I'm saying is, in that moment, you can feel it. It's like it comes from your head down your body and it's just going down your thing. You can just feel it leaving your body, that thing of like, I'm going to kill you now. And it's just leaving your body. And then there's just a bit of deflation. And once Usyk, if you're able to carry on the trend, right? If you're able to continue dishing out punishment once that man comes back, then yeah, that's fine, right? But if you get an Alexander Usyk who's been very, very calculated and crafty, and by the way, I'm not saying he hasn't played it by the rules and by the books. If you get someone like that, get up off the ground and all of a sudden they're bouncing and you realise, you know what? That opportunity that was there, I'm going to have to replicate that again and find that again now. And Dubois will know how hard it was to find that in the first place. It's not like Dubois in that moment would have thought, I might throw a right hook to the body here. Do you know what I mean? He'd been working on that all camp and it took him a few rounds to actually be able to get it off. And he's probably used to be able to getting that sort of stuff off within the first or second attempt of trying it. So I think it would have been massively disheartening. And I think it will have zapped a lot of that positive momentum out of the direction that the fight was moving in.
Have you experienced that, Lawrence, as well? Have you experienced being in a fight and then something weird has happened and you're like, they're going to stitch me up here?
Absolutely. I mean, the thing is, though, regardless, both guys had the same situation, essentially. I know what you're saying with the momentum that Daniel Dubois had, but regardless, both guys cooled down, lost a bit of momentum, and Usyk's the guy with more experience who pulled it out of the bag. I just think we can keep talking about that situation, but, it is what it is, and he's now got his opportunity. But all I was getting at before with Daniel Dubois, I don't want to discredit him, but I just think the level of opponent with Alexander Usyk compared to all the previous guys that Daniel Dubois fought is just on another level. And I think the fitness does play a part because the pace that Usyk sets, the speed, it's just different.
We'll get onto his previous opponents in a second fully, because the one thing you can't say is Alexander Usyk didn't do to AJ what Dubois did to AJ, so we can analyse that and unpack that in a sense. The low blow, just one word answers, lads, because I want to kind of go beyond it, but is there anyone who thinks it was not a low blow and that Usyk cheated?
Not if I throw that punch. If I throw it, it's not a low blow, no. If it gets landed on me, it's low. No, yeah, it's one of them. It's one of them.
So generally speaking, I think a lot of people in boxing have accepted it was a low blow, even if it wasn't bang on the dick. It was lower than it should have been. I am fascinated by the attack on Alexander Usyk from Don Charles, the coach of Daniel Dubois. It's been very personal. He's called it to question how religious he really is. He's, if you're a God-fearing man, all of this sort of stuff. Is that Don Charles being, genuinely offended and upset? Or is that some sort of psychological game to help Daniel Dubois potentially feel like he's been robbed, feel like he wants vengeance, feel like I'm disrespecting Usyk, so therefore you shouldn't respect them either? Like using it as a almost remember like Mourinho siege mentality sort of thing of everyone was against us, we got robbed. Do you think that may be the real reason behind it or not?
I think that it may well be. I think that it may well be. And I think that when you look at the fact that it's not just Don Charles, it's also George Fox's son, right? There was the thing where George Fox's son said, I'll pop your eyeballs out your head, I'll rip your throat out and stuff like that, and whatever if it was in a street fight. So, I do think that, and I'll give you the main reason I believe this. Obviously, they've brought religion into this. They said, if you're a God-fearing man, you wouldn't lie and whatever. Seems like it's a bit of a trend of recent Alexander Usyk opponents to be doing that. Tyson Fury did that as well. And I think it's very strange. But the reason why I doubt that there is a genuine animosity towards Alexander Usyk and a genuine belief that he is hiding in plain sight. He's not a religious man. He's not a good man. He's not what the public think he is. The reason I don't believe it is because of conversations that I won't go in massively into detail with between, KG was there, between ourselves and Don Charles when he was speaking about his time training Anthony Joshua, right?
Yeah.
And in a nutshell, what I'm going to tell you is that Don Charles kind of felt, or what I took from it, was that Don Charles kind of felt a little bit, brushed off by Anthony Joshua when Anthony Joshua got a bit big time, right? Which, obviously he did, unified world champion. Now, with the way that Don Charles was speaking there, I would have very, very much expected going on form and looking at this version of Don Charles and saying, okay, that's a man that will speak his mind if need be. I would have expected him to have piped up with Anthony Joshua at some point. I would have expected that. And obviously I know he wasn't at that initial press conference that we went to at Guildhall, but you would have expected something in the build up there.
What you're saying is the baseline behaviour of Don Charles is X, and what we're now saying is he's not behaving as he normally behaves, therefore he's the one who's changing to meet kind of the way Tyson Fury started behaving differently for Usyk. Like he's behaving differently because he's aware of the challenge.
Exactly.
There's a problem. There's a problem though that they're making. There's one little miscalculation. We've seen that this guy Usyk is battle tested when it comes to mind games. And I'll probably say one of the best in the mind game business is Tyson Fury. You're going to have to give it to him. He just does the correct things. He knows how to get something out of his opponents. He knows how to offset them. And Tyson Fury, it just never worked on Usyk. At any time, anything Tyson Fury tried to Usyk didn't work. But the moment, and a caller reminded me of this, he was doing a speech and he's going to talk about his dad. And as soon as Dubois jumped in the ring, he turns to Turkey and says, set this fight up right now. Because he doesn't do the disrespect.
Ade Oladipo was going, Daniel, because he knew exactly what you're saying there, KG.
He turns and he goes, set it up right now. He tried to save him, because there's one thing Usyk is going to remember, these moments. Everything that Fury said, he logged it and he went to beat him up about it, made him sign his own picture of a punch that he took. Yeah. This is somebody that is just as well locked in. And I think they actually done something to prepare Usyk even better, because Father Time something. But if you know those people over there are being disrespectful, you're going to train a little bit harder. You're going to go more, you're going to go to the well even more than before, I feel.
There's a lot to be said for the way Usyk, it was quite amazing, because we've all been really impressed with Dubois. And the way he just said, Mr. Excellency, set the fight up, and then just carried on about his, it was so dismissive of, all right, mate, you can have your fight. Dubois, though, how much has he actually changed? There's been a lot made about it. If you watch, UK media, there's loads of people picking Dubois. There's loads of people saying he's different, man, now he's different. And obviously, he has been impressive in his last 3 fights. But how much has he really changed since the first fight?
Do you know what it is? This has been talked about so much, and from what I've seen, I think a lot of people don't think Daniel's improved as much as people are making out. Me personally, I think a lot of it is just his confidence, the mental side of things. But what I always say is boxing's predominantly a mental game, and that extra bit of, when we talk about AJ and Tyson Fury, and Brian, you touched on it before, is the simple fact is they weren't willing to go like to risk it all to get the win. And against Alexander Usyk, you've got to have that mentality. And I think for Daniel Dubois, I think his simple-mindedness, his youthfulness, he's got I don't want to call him a simple man, but he is, let's face it. And I think it's going to work in his favour, because you need to just go at Usyk. You can't, like you said earlier, he's got to think of it as a 6-round fight. But in terms of technical improvement, I personally don't think there's been a load of technical improvement. I kind of agree with that side of things, to be honest. And yes, there's been tweaks, but nothing major in my opinion.
You know how you said there about simplifying things? I think that's one of the best things that you can do for certain personality types in boxing, right?
True.
And I often try and simplify things in my fights and stuff. And I think that Daniel Dubois is someone that actually finds it very, very easy to be able to do that. And there's a simple question that Daniel Dubois needs to ask himself, in my opinion. And that is, what hurt more? What hurt more? Did that punch hurt more? The exhaustion, losing that fight? Basically, the experience of his first bout with Usyk, did that hurt more? Yeah? Or did the pain of losing that fight hurt more? Did the comments of what everyone else said after you lost that fight hurt more? Being called a quitter, having to come back from the backlash, yeah? Not feeling as comfortable in your own skin as you do sometimes after a loss. What hurt more? Because if the answer to that question, is that the pain that I had to go through in losing that fight on a personal level emotionally hurt more, then you know what you've got to do. You know what you've got to do, because you know that losing hurts more than actually the outcome of how you lose, i.e. the punch, the exhaustion, what you went down from. And if the outcome is that you hurt more from taking the loss, then you need to sacrifice the pain in the ring and go in there understanding I'm going swimming. I ain't getting wet. I'm getting fucking soaked here, and I'm going to do it I'm going to do it just on the whim that I'm going to be able to go out there and I'm going to be able to put a dent in this man. And that really is simplifying it.
I need you in my corner, Joey. I feel like I need to fight. I need you in my corner, bro.
One thing that Joey really...
I'm going to have to leave on you going to run or something.
One thing Joey put in my head there was about the Tyson Furies and the situations where AJ and Fury fought Usyk. In their rematches, you could see that they were still governed by the fear factor of what can be done to me. And I think partly because AJ and Tyson Fury have been such icons in British boxing and in the world. They're so idolized, and that obviously means a lot to them. We remember seeing AJ turning to the crowd, talking to the crowd in the middle of his fight with Daniel Dubois, because his pride was being hurt, his ego was being hurt. Tyson Fury's inability to admit he got beat twice. These are very prideful men. And I'm not saying Daniel Dubois isn't proud, but I don't think fear is in his head as much as it was for them. I think he wants this more. I think the way he fought Anthony Joshua, when he just comes straight ahead, that was the thing. It isn't the technical side of Dubois' game that I'm like, all right, he's a different fighter. I don't think he's that more. I think he's following good instructions from Don Charles. But the lack of fear is what, in my opinion, along with the power, makes Daniel Dubois the most dangerous fight Alexander Usyk's ever had, because of he's 38 years old, fighting a man 11 years younger, because of this man desperately wants it, because of his single-mindedness. I think that this is where he's in a real fucking fight here.
And he's getting home. Daniel's getting home. You have to remember, something good for him has happened in Wembley. So if he walks out to the exact same tune that he walked out to the AJ one, I'm telling you now, you saw how he walked in. This is the one thing where he turned me into somewhat of a believer in him. Because you remember, Joe, you said it. He's walking in. I don't know who said it. I'll know about when he walks out, and then I'll have a
Joey said, I've got a feeling.
Straight away. He's walking in, and then he's got the black...
the Mike Tyson thing.
Yeah, the Mike Tyson thing, the overthrow, and he's just... You can see him nodding, and just there was a laser focused about him. And that there, he's going back to his home where he's had success, the laser focus, and his whole team has told himself, we were cheated. Those ingredients that's lovely to put in the pot.
Yeah.
The only thing that steps in his way is, you see, we talked about recovering, yeah? We forget to mention the part of Usyk does this weird thing where he goes to his corner, kisses the cross, and comes out on a madness. No matter what round it is, he could have had the shittest round. He can recover just like that. And he has to be able to, what we have to see is, what will give Daniel Dubois some confidence is if he does do that, kiss the cross, comes back, and Daniel still gives him pain. He doesn't get the lift that we usually see when he does go to his corner and he has that moment. If that happens, I know Team Dubois will be really excited. That's going to give them a lot of confidence.
To go back to Lotta's point earlier about the opponents that we've had, the 3 wins, the 3 knockouts, the opponents in place, obviously, none of them are Alexander Usyk. None of them are going to be able to make you a firm believer that he's going to clean Usyk out easily. But I remember when I watched the preview of the AJ fight, obviously that we did a year ago now, and I was questioning, are we looking at false data with Anthony Joshua? Is the Otto Wallen win, who's not there's very clear path to victory for AJ, is the Ngannou win, very clear path to victory for him, skewing the data? And I now look at the Jarrell Miller fight and I think, stood there, and he's a big fridge of a man, but he's not going to move, right? There's a clear path to victory. The Hrgović, a known lazy bastard who, yes, he clocked them with a lot of right hands early, but he wasn't willing to keep going, and Dubois was. That's the fearlessness. That's the for a big man, the endurance he's got. But also, Hrgović, he just had a fight with fucking Joe Joyce and he didn't look great in that. No. So how good are we overrating what he was? And Anthony Joshua, a man who Dubois was able to put on the back foot immediately, and AJ never got any offense off until one shot later on in the fight. And there are some people who say the fact that he dropped him as bad as he did in the first round, and I was watching your fucking show the other night, KJ, and the kid rang up and he said, how good is Dubois' power really? I personally think it's great, but he was saying, took him a while to get him out of there after dropping him that badly. Are we overrating those wins potentially? Is that skewing the data?
Do you know the way I see it? I think with AJ, the reason... I know for me, I'm a fan of AJ, so my judgment was definitely clouded. But at least previously, he'd fought some great fights. He'd been in the big fights. So I had some previous data. We're looking at the more recent data. But when it comes to Daniel Dubois, we didn't really have anything other than the recent data because he hadn't fought anyone yet. So I think that was the difference. I just couldn't see a win from him personally. So I definitely think the judgment's clouded without doubt. It's one of those. It's just so difficult, isn't it?
I would say with Daniel Dubois, one key thing as well when looking at obviously the style of Alexander Usyk being completely different. That's going to be so complex for Daniel Dubois to be able to work out. And actually, again, to bring it back to simplicity, maybe don't try and work it out. When everyone says about like working out Usyk's style, maybe don't try and work it out. Maybe don't. Maybe just do your own thing. But regardless of that, right, one thing that will give Daniel Dubois an extra boost is the fact that with Alexander Usyk, right, this is as far as I can think of, the first rematch that Daniel Dubois had in his career. It is, isn't it? Yeah. So Joe Joyce, he never done the rematch for that fight. And obviously Alexander Usyk, this is the first time that he'll be rematching someone because AJ didn't opt to take the rematch, right? So this will be the first time that Daniel Dubois will be going in there with someone that has not only done damage to him, has stopped him in a fight, right? But let's remember it was Daniel Dubois who called for the Hrgović fight. And now that fight is said and done, I'll tell you what I have been told, which many is the worst kept secret in boxing, which is that Philippe Hrgović knocked Daniel Dubois out in the gym. Philippe Hrgović knocked Daniel Dubois out in, I'll be able to tell you the name of the gym in a minute, but it happened in the gym. Like, do you know what I mean? So that will be something that obviously would have played on Daniel Dubois' mind massively. So
I don't know if it will have, Joey. That's the thing that amazes me about Daniel Dubois. Every time he comes back from a bad defeat, he always fights exactly the fucking same. Yeah. I mean, and lately, do you know when interviewers try and ask him about coming back from a defeat, he literally, it's as if it didn't happen. It's as if Don Charles got the flashy thing out of Men in Black and just went like that, and it's just not happened.
It's a superpower.
Yeah.
It's a superpower. It's a superpower because you know full well that Tyson Fury in that fight was having moments when he was thinking about the first fight. You know that Anthony Joshua in the rematch was having moments when he was thinking about the first fight. Yeah? I think with Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua improved in the rematch. I think we'll all agree that he gave a better showing against Usyk second time round. Tyson Fury, I don't think was better in the rematch than he was in the first fight. And that's coming from a Tyson Fury fan. So what I'm saying is when Alexander Usyk fights these opponents, a lot of them will have it in their head of not only how good the man in front of me is, now we're getting to the point in the career where he's fighting names big enough that they warrant rematches. So they're not only knowing how good he is, they're knowing what he's done to them. And that's one benefit that I think that Daniel Dubois will have over everyone else that's had a rematch with Usyk.
But do you know what I think people are also missing? I think Usyk is getting better. I honestly do.
That's the one thing.
This is the question I was going to ask you. Can I just say what I was going to ask?
Yeah.
Just on that. Tyson Fury, was there anything we learned in that rematch about Usyk that we didn't already know?
Yes. 100% for me.
I learned stuff. I'll say...
I'd just personally say that Alexander Usyk is I think we knew it after the AJ rematch, fully fledged heavyweight, but at the same time, you was looking at Anthony Joshua and you was going, right, okay, but could you be an elite guy that's just a little bit lighter, that's won it on the fundamentals, on the skill set and whatnot? Once he beat Tyson Fury, he put that to bed. But what I've seen his feet slow down. I've seen his feet slow down from the first Anthony Joshua fight, and every single fight since, his feet are slowing down. And there's ways you can look at it and you can go, well, that's a sign of him deteriorating as a fighter.
No.
It could be a sign of him becoming more confident. It could be a sign of him going, do you know what? Actually, these heavyweight boys don't bang as much as I thought they could, and they would need to actually hit me with an accumulation of shots to be able to get me out of there. Something that Tyson Fury wasn't able to do. Something that Daniel Dubois wasn't able to do. Something that Anthony Joshua wasn't able to do. Even with Daniel Dubois, if you don't class it as a low blow, it wasn't an accumulation of shots. It was one bomb underneath. So I think that Alexander Usyk has grown in to his heavyweight mindset now and won't be bullied in the ring.
But it's just double-edged sword, though. This is where you got to be careful, because you got to remember the things that got you to certain places. I would like to say, remember Canelo pre-Triple G? Yeah, he wasn't a plod forward and just punch on the arm and try to get you out of there.
No.
There's something that's happened with Usyk that I like, in terms of after the first fight with Fury, he just made the decision that in the second one, I'm not going to expend so much energy, and I might plod a bit and I'm going to knock you out. But I think that's a dangerous thing at the same time, because if you try that plodding game with a Daniel Dubois and just believe in yourself and get too confident, things could get very dangerous, because I still believe Daniel has concussive power. Yes, AJ, when people are looking at AJ, but again, AJ does have a good chin. There's not many. AJ Ruiz took AJ down a few times, but AJ always gets back up until that real shot that happened. So for me, I do believe it is a definite thing of Usyk now believes in himself, believes in his power. And that's a great thing. But you don't want to be that person. How Canelo came up against Bivol and he had to be quick. He couldn't be that old version of Canelo. He was it was post Triple G version, and he got found out.
Yeah.
I don't want to see that happen to Usyk in this one. I still wanted to lose, but I want him to lose in a nicer.
Let's let Loza answer. Was there anything you've noticed about Usyk over the last 4 years?
Yeah, this is the point I was trying to make. I think everyone's kind of said his feet slowed down, but I just think he's evolved. Naturally, when you go up in weight, you can't do what you've done at the lighter weight. And, use the Canelo situation. He was opposite way around in a way he wasn't already a flat-footed fighter. Generally speaking, with Canelo, he was more of a head movement against a bigger man with, fast feet. You've got to be a bit more mobile, generally speaking, but for Usyk being a guy on the move with bigger guys who hit harder, you've got to plant your feet a little bit more to dig the shots in. And the fact is the bigger guys, and we're talking about a completely different weight division, the heavyweight division, the guys are generally slower. So he's come from cruiserweight. And I just think he's really evolved into the weight. He doesn't need to move the way he previously did. I don't think it's anything to do with him aging. I just think he's actually got better. He's realized what worked. And like you just said, KG, he didn't need to move around, whether it was confidence or whatever, but he can see the shots coming. And the thing is with Usyk, he's like the Matrix. He can see the shots coming. He's very hard to hit clean. And the fact that Daniel Dubois, he's not a Tyson Fury. I think Tyson Fury had more success because he's so unorthodox and he's got quicker hands, whereas Daniel Dubois is a little bit more of a textbook boxer. I think it'll be to read Daniel Dubois a lot easier. And to be honest, I think that's why in the first fight, if you've seen the way he fought him from his previous fights, Usyk, he was holding his feet. He was going in there to make a statement. And I think he realized stylistically, I don't need to box and move like I normally do against Daniel Dubois. And I think he's going to do exactly the same, to be honest. I think his style's so simplistic. If you look at Daniel Dubois, he hasn't got the lateral movement that even AJ, I think technically people are now, because of AJ's loss to Daniel Dubois, they're saying, oh, he's rubbish. Technically, he's never been great. But I just think that was the worst version of AJ. I think Daniel Dubois is so simple in his approach. For someone like Alexander Usyk, I think he finds the style easy. But in terms of improvement, I think Usyk's been getting better and better. 100%.
Agreed.
I think that ultimately, though, and I don't want to skip ahead here, I think that what it is horses for courses, and therefore I think that we're going to see a combination of the two different styles in this fight.
Yeah. For how Dubois can win this fight, just to round it up, lads, before we go into, I'm going to ask you at the end what percentage chance you give Dubois, because everyone obviously leans towards Usyk because we haven't seen him lose yet. But if we were to see a Dubois win, how do you picture it in your mind's eye?
Knockout. It's the only way. I think it can be any shot. Daniel Dubois can really hit. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a similar right hand that he landed on AJ, that sort of shot. But I can't see it. I can't see him outpointing him. I think the only way Daniel can win.
It's going to be in the early rounds-ish, roughly, like first 6 rounds sort of thing.
I think Daniel carries his power late on. I think the power will still be there, but I think his pace will slow down where Usyk will get on top if it goes to the later rounds. I think if he's going to win, it's going to be early. Yeah. Anyone else?
Nah, it's going to be...
Go on, KJ.
It's going to be late. It'll be like 10th round knockout. That's the best he can do. Usyk is a tough SOB as well. He's not going to allow it. I couldn't imagine him, even if it's getting bad, he's going to continue fighting. But I think there'll be that, a number of punches that get it done. And it's just not saying he'll quit, but a body shot down. That's what it's going to, yeah.
When Tyson Fury hit Alexander Usyk with that right hand uppercut, in the space of probably 20 seconds or so that followed, and this was the uppercut that a lot of us, including Fury himself and the commentary team on the night, thought had done significant damage to Usyk in the 6th round of the first fight. In the 20 seconds or so that followed, Tyson Fury probably landed maybe 3 clean punches, maybe 3, right? That's not a lot. I know there's levels to this, but when we used to see AJ, for example, get his man hurt, in the 20 seconds that followed, there weren't 20 seconds, there were 5 seconds. And in that 5 seconds, 15 punches got fucking thrown.
So true.
So very, very hard to pin Alexander Usyk down. And that's why you're asking me about a Daniel Dubois method to victory. That's why I'm going to give you something different and say to you guys that I wouldn't rule out the possibility of a Daniel Dubois points victory. But there's always a circumstance in or in how that victory comes. And I would say that the only way that Daniel Dubois wins a points victory against Alexander Usyk is if that points victory comes at the cost of a few knockdowns in there. But to be able to finish Alexander Usyk, obviously Daniel Dubois is a better natural finisher than Tyson Fury. Anthony Joshua's a better natural finisher than Tyson Fury. But what I've seen from Usyk when I'm hurt tells me that, yes, You might be able to hurt him. I'm not sure I could say you finish him. So I think that Daniel Dubois can drop him. We've already seen that, whether you agree it's low or not. But I think that Usyk will be able to navigate his way to the final belt, even if that did happen.
For me, if Daniel Dubois is to win, it has to be early. When I watch, we've all given credit to Dubois for his gas tank for being a big man, but equally, he's still a big man, and there is a limit. And I feel like even against AJ, we seen when AJ started reviving himself in that 4th round before he came out and looked a bit better in the 5th round, we seen Dubois slowing down already, because in throwing so many punches and going after your opponent in such an aggressive way, your gas tank is draining. I've seen it in the UFC, I've seen it in boxing. Heavyweights, there's a limit on what you can do. And the style, for me, boxing is rock, paper, scissors, right? I think Dubois has the potential to really hurt Usyk, but he has to fight to his full fearless potential and go after him in the way that he did AJ, if not even more aggressive. The minute you kind of it's, for me, if Usyk is on the front foot early on, it's game over almost, because Daniel Dubois can only win this fight on the front foot, and he has to be ultra aggressive in doing so from the first bell. And there was moments where AJ was against the ropes and Daniel was just going after him. You absolutely have to do that. That is the biggest mistake Tyson Fury made, is when he did hit Usyk clean, like he did with that lovely uppercut, there wasn't anywhere near the explosive energy coming from Fury, because he doesn't have it really like that, whereas Dubois does, and he has to have the courage to go for it. I'm going to go to a percentage, right? Just to let you know, I marked this down last time on the Pain Game when we did the Dubois fight. Loza gave Dubois 30% chance, KJ 15% chance, and Joey 40% chance against AJ.
AJ, right, yeah.
And this was against AJ. So, Joey, you came out on top with 40%.
Bloody hell.
KJ literally gave him virtually no chance. 15 was even going high for KJ. So this time, I want to ask you the same question. What percentage chance do you give Daniel Dubois for beating Alexander Usyk at Wembley? I'm going to start with Joey.
I think I'm going to go with a 30% chance.
Loza?
I was going to say exactly, I'm sticking with 30%. I can't see much more than that. Can I just touch on the point you made before? Just quickly. Because what I was going to say is, you talked about Dubois getting tired against AJ, and really that wasn't a competitive fight. You knew he was getting tired because of the punches that were being thrown. But with Alexander Usyk, he's going to make a miss. In any fight, I'll tell you, Joe, you'll be able to answer this one. You get tired more when you miss than when you land. And this is the difference for me. What can I say? You're an all-time great. But yeah, I think that's the massive difference. He's going to make a miss so much, and Daniel's going to get tired.
All right, we got 230s, KJ.
I'm going to respect this guy because I totally writ him off last time, and I'm going to say 40%.
No.
I'm getting 40%, and I think that is more just hope, really. That's hope more than anything. But yeah, 40%.
Well, everyone, let us know in the comments. I'd love to know, especially if you made it at the end of the video, what percentage chance you give Daniel Dubois. Especially, we'll look at those afterwards, so you got it right. Appreciate it, boys. We'll see you Saturday night. We'll be sitting in our office one for the evening. Wembley Stadium, fireworks off in the background, all that good stuff. Cannot wait. Join us live there. The link for the pay-per-view is in the description below. Like the video, subscribe. We'll catch you on the next one.